Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, the current session focuses on the grammatical tendencies of the modern English period. The particular focus of the session is on the verb-adverb combinations. I hope by the end of the session you would be able to understand what was going on during the 19th and 20th century with reference to grammar and especially with reference to the verb-adverb combinations. Well, my dear students, several factors affected, the language through the times. And in the modern English times, there were factors like, the spread of, printed materials, the education that has spread everywhere, means of communication, social consciousness that have played a vital role. However, it is very interesting for us to notice that during this period, the changes that took place, they were mainly of vocabulary. And when it comes to grammar, some changes took place. Yes, of course there were changes, but they were either of minor nature or their frequency was very less. In fact, my dear students, if you look at the history, you go back, you would realize there was a kind of school mastering of the language. The substitution of, if you look at the screen, you were for you was. Initially you was approved of. Its, replacement with you were took place in the same way, it is I, this choice. Instead of it is me, it is I used to be, in usage, but today we do not hear this very much. What, we left of the subjunctive mood in occasional use has also disappeared except in conditions contrary to the fact. So, notice this choice. If I was you here, at this point, the choice of was is now dropped. The only option that is used now is if I were you. This is used for the conditional or for, the wishful thinking. For example, if I were you, I would have done it like that. This is equal to, in terms of meanings to had I been you, I would have done it like that. So, wishful thinking or condition. Anyways, some tendency towards the loss of inflections and, the little, loose, choice of structures that were dropped on the way and the choices with reference to informal speech that were dropped on the way. These are the, the major, achievements that took a final shape, what I would say, towards, the beginning of the modern English period and during the whole time of 19th and 20th centuries. Also, in terms of grammar, notice this. He don't, represents an attempt to eliminate the ending of the third person singular and reduces this verb in the negative to a uniform do in the present tense. So, these kind of choices, were dropped on the way, and the language, the stability of the language for which the efforts were made during the 18th century, now during the 19th and the 20th century, efforts were made to retain that stability, especially with reference to grammar. Likewise, the widespread practice of disregarding the objective case from whom, in the interrogatives, for example, who do you want? In comparison with whom do you want? This also illustrates, the impulse. Sometimes, these kind of, this example of whom and who, sometimes these kind of errors sound to be shocking, but, this is how language is. So Shakespeare often, committed these kind of choices. But when we look at the modern English times, passing from Renaissance to, the times of, 18th century, where a counter check, or a balance was attempted, by, putting restraints, by holding on to what was happening through Renaissance. As we reach now, today, to the modern English, what we see is that the desire for stability, particularly in grammar, that was focused during this period, was now much more, retained and achieved. Same is the case of, this get and he got heard, that is largely a 19th century development. But, these developments are, very, very minor when we look at these in comparison with vocabulary. This choice of passive, because he hurts, cannot be equated with this in terms of meanings. So these are the developments that took place during the 19th century. This has a completely, different meaning. And he is hurt, when this is used as a passive, this is very, very formal, whereas he got is informal in the choice. Now I would focus on the verb-adverb combinations particularly. This is the tendency that is sufficiently important to be noticed during the 19th and 20th century. Now, modern vocabulary has a lot of examples of the combinations of verbs and adverbs to make, phrases. Notice the large number of such vocabulary. For example, set out. They are combined to make set out. Gather up. Verb set plus out adverb. Gather verb plus up adverb. Put verb of adverb. Bring verb in adverb. So, combinations are made. And most of the times, in all these you would see, like this one, single syllable verbs are used. They suggest comparison with verbs having separable prefixes in German and a smaller extent with English verbs, like, for example, withstand or with overcome, that, are different in nature. Well, such combinations existed even before the modern periods. So we would find examples. Look at these two examples. Climb up and fall down. Of course, we climb up. And of course, when we fall down. So, the difference is that before the modern times, the combination of the adverb that would be made with the verb, what it would be, it would actually just enhance the same meaning. Climb plus up, which would reinforce, of course, going up. And fall down, of course, we fall down, but it would just reinforce that. The combinations that we have now, they are different from these mere manifestations, and they are actually one of the most important features of the grammar of today. Just quickly have a look at the examples. I have just given you here the examples of bring about. Now bring and about, the verb bring plus about the adverb, they are completely different. They are not just supporting each other in this. And the meaning that it has is completely different from whether, you compare it with bring or you compare it with about. The meaning is cause or accomplish. Same is catch on, which means comprehend. Give out, which means become. Keep on, which means continue. Now, keep has a completely different meaning. And on, does not, as such, affect the word anyways by just supporting it. The meaning that it has here as keep on as a combination is completely different from keep. Same goes for all the examples that you see on this slide. Another extensive use, especially in colloquial speech, of these verb-adverb combinations is, for example, of the nouns blow out, hold up, run away, cave in. So, language was quite innovative in this sense. Just look at the single adverb up and quickly go through all the possibilities. You can make so many verb-adverb combinations with it. Bring up, brace up, cuff up, dig up, dish up, drum up, fly up, gum up, jack up, loosen up, blah, blah, blah. In fact, there are 20 verbs which are given here. You can see the list, which include back, blow, break, bring, call, come, etc. And through these 20 verbs, there is, a possibility of 150 combinations that exists in modern English. 155 combinations of verb, adverb, brought together to create new meanings. And with this, more than 600 distinct meanings are created in language. So this is the beauty of these combinations of verb and adverb that we find in modern English.